Anyway, 1980. Oh, we're halfway through. So 1985. Um, for me, we ain't quite got to the best year yet, but we're getting there. 1985. Jam, what you got, mate?
Right, I haven't got either of mine on vinyl, unfortunately, which is a bit strange. I don't know why I haven't. Certainly the first one, but I'm going with the band that Todd was just talking about, Rat. I prefer Invasion of Your Privacy or Privacy if you're American, but yeah, I think it's an entry point thing, isn't it? This is the first album I heard by Rat, so it became my favourite, I guess, and then I went back. I've actually got the previous album on vinyl, but I haven't got this one. Songs like "You're in Love," "You Should Know by Now," it's really good. But I think this has got my favourite metal song of all time on it, which is "Lay It Down" by Rat.
Oh, yeah.
What a great song that is! I
What a
just
riff.
love that. But
What
it's
a
like
riff.
certainly 80s
Oh,
metal song. It's a
yeah,
great song.
yeah.
The riff is so good. I mean, just turn it up loud. It's just fantastic. And then my honourable mention is Magnum, British band Magnum. On a Storyteller's Night, probably their biggest album, no doubt, but for a reason, because it's excellent. The title track's brilliant. Um, just Like an Arrow, what a great single, and probably my favourite off it is All England's Eyes, which is towards the back end of it. So that's my two.
Two brilliant album covers for different
And
reasons there.
yeah, different album. Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for that, mate. Much appreciated. Don, what you got, mate?
Okay, so I'm going with Accept Metal Heart.
Oh, I love that album. Yeah.
Yeah, it just there's a couple of the contenders. Restless and Wild is amazing. Breaker's great. Falls to the Wall is great. But I think Metal Heart really encapsulates everything about Accept that I love. I think at the time they're being accused of being a bit too commercial, but I don't hear that at all. Sure, it has "Screaming for a Love Bite" on it, but come on, that song's amazing. Okay, and then my honorable mention is Aerosmith, "Done with Mirrors," which is the last gasp of the Aerosmith that I grew up with. It's before they brought in all the outside songwriters and all the. This one is loose and it's riffy, and it's the end of an era. So I just had to acknowledge it that um, that's where the line is drawn for me. is that album, "Done with Mirrors"? So yeah, those are my two.
Thanks, mate. I think the only thing, the difference on that Accept album that people said it was more commercial was the production was just so good.
Yeah.
It was better.
Mm-hmm.
It was the best it's ever sounded, and it just
Yeah.
sounded a bit cleaner, didn't it? But what an
Yeah,
amazing album.
it's kind of the same with the comparison we're trying to make with Blackout, and
Yeah.
the ones
Love
that came
Tribe, yeah,
previous.
and
It
stuff.
sounded
Yeah,
fine, but then when you hear that, it's like, oh, okay.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Amazing choice. Todd, what you got, mate?
Well, 85 was kind of a weird year for me. It's not my favorite, definitely. It seems like kind of a transition between the earlier 80s, which is real more hard rock or heavier stuff, and then the later 80s, which was more the glam stuff and whatnot. And it's kind of right in the middle. There's a lot of bands going soft, kind of in the, if you want to call it that, in the middle. So it was, I mean, not every band, obviously, but so, and since you open it up to live albums, I had to go with Live After Death.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
This was one of the first. The first one I had was Number of the Beast, which I would have picked for 1982 had I not picked this one for 1985. But I had this, and I mean, how can you go wrong with this one? Is that every song is amazing on here, and double live. I mean, I play this all the time when it first came out, and just an amazing live album. Still my favorite live album of all time. And while we're talking live albums, why don't we go for honorable mention Worldwide
Oh
Live
yeah.
by Scorpions.
Yep.
A lot of people love Tokyo Tapes, which is fine. I never got into, if you're from America, you didn't really get into the earlier the 70s stuff as much because they never played them here. And so it was always the 80s stuff that I knew. And then when Worldwide Live came out, it was just right down my alley. It was perfect. And it was right off of Love It for Sting, and which had some amazing songs on it. So those are my two.
Very
I
cool.
remember the concert film of Worldwide Live was actually shown in the cinemas in the States.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I played both of those. I had both of those well, they were tapes, I suppose. They might have been VHS back then. I had Live After Death and Worldwide Live, and I would just play them just constantly.
Yeah.
It looked like the Worldwide Live one. I think it was cut with, like, they must have filmed it professionally in the studio or something, because it like kept flicking from the live. It looked too good, if you know what I mean. But yeah, them two. I've been trying to like figure out, you can't get Live After Death like on Blu-ray now or anything like that. Still, it's like there's little bits of it, I think, on a Maiden early years type thing, but the whole thing, I'm sure it's not available yet. You might correct me if I'm wrong, but you might have it. Oh, is it not?
I still have my
You got it?
VHS player, so I can
You
pull
got
out my VHS of both of them. So
Oh, look at that.
I thought they released it on DVD at least.
I think they've had bits of it on some, but the whole concert, I'm not sure yet. But what an amazing thing that was to look at when you was younger. I was like that, like, this is just amazing. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Todd. What you got then, Karen?
Oh, my favourite from this year was an absolute no-brainer for me. This one was easy. It's already been mentioned, and that's On a Storyteller's Night by Magnum. It's an album that I grew up with. My parents are massive Magnum fans, and actually one of my first gigs was when they took me to see them on this tour. I was only about 11, and it was just one of the best things that had ever happened to me. I've seen them so many times over the years since. And my mum and I, we could still go on a road trip now, and we'll play the Magnum. I'll be out and we'll both be, able to enjoy it. So that's there's no filler on the album at all. Every single song is brilliant. And the title track is still one of my favourite Magnum albums ever. And my honourable mention is The Last Command by Wasp. I was in full rebel stage, I guess, in the late 80s. Want to rebel against your parents at the same time, and Wasp, well, they're one of the bands that gave me the perfect opportunity to do that, really. So yeah, those are my choices for 85.
Thank you very much. Never forget the Wild Child video either, man. That was just amazing, wasn't it? Thank you very much, you lot. Right, so I am actually going to be the deciding to win this one. So Rat, I'm going to go with Rat and Invasion of Your Privacy. Love that. Absolutely love the album. My favourite Rat album as well. So I'll go along with Jam. I think I really realised that it was my favourite album when we done our live stream. I realised everyone's love for the album was in 1985 was pretty mad, and it's just the perfect Rat album for me. I think it brings back so many memories as well. And my runner-up is Dokken, Under Lock and Key. Also my favourite Dokken album. I think they were so much. People always go for Back for the Attack. Sorry, it's a later year if anyone's got that, but this is so much better than that. They were just heavier. It sounded better. The album, Don Dokken was on fire. George Lynch was just so, inventive on the guitar. So that's it. Yeah, we win it. Well done, Jam. Yeah. Okay, the best year in rock and metal is upon us. 1986. I'll tell you my list, because I wrote down what could actually get number one. It's massive.
Yeah, mine. Really difficult.
Absolutely massive, my list for 1986. So, to Jam. Don't let me down, Jam. Come on, what you got?
I think this could be a clear winner, but we'll see. Something called Master of Puppets. I don't know if you've heard of it. Small band called Metallica. If you want. We don't need to talk about it, do we? It's a lot of people's favourite Metallica albums, not mine, but certainly up there. Yeah, songs Welcome Home is probably my favourite from the Sanitarium, and obviously Damage Incorporated at the end, really good. But yeah, Metallica, Master of Puppets. Brilliant. And runner-up with the best Iron Maiden cover, Somewhere in Time. Love this album. It's quite tough for me. This is in my top 3 Maiden albums as well. Not really, at the time people didn't like it. Hardcore Maiden fans. I mean, I come into it when it had already been released, so it's just getting into their back catalogue. I just didn't really notice it. Obviously, it's got guitar synths on it, but I mean, the songs are brilliant. Just seen them on the Days of Future Past tour. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, Somewhere in Time. There you go.
Very cool. Great first choice as well. Both great choices, but thanks, mate, for that. Dom, what you got, mate?
Okay, I've got a controversial. It wouldn't be Dominic if it wasn't. My favorite Rat album is Dancing Undercover, and that's going to be my favorite album of the year. Especially side two. You know, Todd, you were talking about side one of Standing Hampton is one of your favorites. Side two of Dancing Undercover is just incredible. None of the singles were on that side, but every song, Enough is Enough and Seventh Avenue, and it just blows my mind. I had it on tape, and you know, side one's good because it's got all the singles. Slip of the Lips, great. Dance, I really like that. Body Talk, you know, but side two, man, that is the most underrated Rat sequence of their entire career. And for my oh god, I'm gonna pick this one because, as I said, some of these are, if I went to choose and put it on now, would I put it on? So this is a band I wasn't really that into, and I didn't hear this until much later. But this is Quiet Riot 3. Mm-hmm. This is their AOR album, and the choruses and the production and everything is just fantastic. Now, of course, the band hate this one because they say that this kind of polished thing was kind of pushed on them or whatever, but the wild and the young and Main Attraction, I mean, they are fantastic. So I would really recommend anyone who had ever been on the fence about Quiet Riot or didn't really get it, try this album because it is one of those lost AOR masterpieces. So Quiet Riot 3.
Thanks, mate. And what about, you didn't mention Looking for Love on the Rat album?
Well, that as well.
Oh man, that
I'm
riff.
looking for you. You're looking for me.
Oh, the riff and the chorus are just amazing on the album.
Yeah,
excellent.
Fantastic.
Thanks, mate. Todd, what you got, mate?
All right. I have a feeling I'm going to get some slack for this, especially on this channel.
Never.
I've heard you guys, in previous videos, not liking this album, and but I'm going to say it anyway because I frankly love it. It's outside of the very last track, 5150.
Love it.
Everything but the last track, Inside, is a throwaway track in my opinion. So, but everything else, would be a perfect 10 album, perfect 10. And so that I know that there's been a lot of discussion about that and whether it was, it did go softer. Some of the singles went softer, but you got songs like Good Enough, you got songs like Get Up. Those are bangers, man. Those are heavy bangers. And Best of Both Worlds is got a killer riff and a great song. 5150 is a great song. Love it.
I don't think they actually went softer, because if you think about it, on 1984, Jump, Oh Wait, there's loads of like synthesizers and stuff on there. Yeah. I think it was just the David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar thing, wasn't it, really?
Yeah.
And even though I still would say Sammy's got a better vocal than David Lee Roth, it's just I suppose the fit was more anything for me.
And I don't know how he can sing Dreams. My God, that thing is so high.
I love that song.
I don't know. He must have.
Fantastic song.
It's like Brian Johnson going and singing Back in Black. He's stuck now trying to sing those songs, and there's no way he can do that at this age. And I don't think Sammy can sing Dreams at this point because it's just so high. So, all right, and my runner-up. This was a tough one, trying to narrow it down. I've got several here in my hand that I could pick any one of them at any given time. You know what I mean? Let's go with Megadeth. Peace Cells is my favorite of theirs. This Wake Up Dead is my favorite Megadeth song. It's just what a way to start an album. My God,
that's incredible.
Yeah, and
then when it goes to that other riff, oh,
yeah,
and
it just goes nuts. Yeah, and just a bunch of amazing songs on this. The same friend that introduced me to Metallica with Kill 'Em All also had Peace Cells, and I used to play the all the time. So yeah, amazing stuff. Great album. That's my honorable mention.
Thanks, mate. Brilliant choices there. Karen, what you got for us?
Oh, this is such a difficult year, isn't it? I Both Todd's choices were on my list, but my number one I've picked because of, again, just importance to me, as Rain and Blood by Slayer. When your parents are rock fans, you really have to go out of your way to find something that they can't tolerate. And this was one of them. I loved it. It was a raging success in that department. And what I love about it, Dave Lombardo, again, as someone who just desperately wanted to play the drums, it's such an incredible album. He's one of the original architects of, heavy metal double bass drumming. That's kind of speed double bass drumming. And it's absolutely, still absolutely love the album. Played it a little bit in advance of this show. I still love it. Honorable mention, God, this is difficult. I didn't go for one of the obvious choices because I thought I could rely on somebody else to pick that. But I'm going to go for Third Stage by Boston.
I love that album. Yeah.
Again, it's an album I played to death then. It was an album that was years in the making, wasn't it? It's quite a complex album. Just the production's amazing, and those incredible guitar harmonies of Boston. I just love that album. That's the first Boston album that I owned, and still very important to me. I love it. So yeah, those are my 86 choices.
Very cool. Brad Delp, man. Oh
yes,
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Songs are consistently good on that.
Yeah,
they are.
Not a drop off.
Everything. Yeah.
Now, we had Kerrang back. When Kerrang actually covered like proper music, and they reviewed that and they slagged it off like big time. One, because it took so long, and then it was like a disappointment and all that. And that was like, I just couldn't stop playing that album. I was like, it got a bit of grief at the time. Couldn't understand it. Loads of ballads, but that was what Boston do best.
It was soft.
It was soft. You only have to listen to My Destination for Brad Delp's vocals, man. Oh, God.
Yeah, it's a great album. All those little instrumental passages between the songs as well. Wonderful.
I wish I hadn't started with a ballad. I should have started.
Yeah, it was a bit strange, and especially when they got Cool the Engines, and you think that's the one to start with, isn't it?
Right.
Weird, a bit of a weird choice that I got to say. But yeah, great album. Right, this is going to be a first, isn't it? So we're going to have difference. We ain't got a winner now, so because of me. So I'm going for
competition, Lee. It's not a competition.
I know, but I've got to go with my favourite Queensryche album, Rage for Order. It's just ahead of its time.
Good.
Yeah, ahead of its time. Complicated. Almost futuristic sounding in 1986. I was like, what the hell is this? And again, the older album of Queensryche that I just don't get fed up with. I just keep playing it and playing it and playing it. It's an amazing album. And my runner-up is the amazing Mechanical Resonance by Tesla, the best debut album that's ever come out. Ever.
Yes. I knew I could rely on you, Lee.
That is a perfect...
I wanted that to get a mention.
Oh man, that is a brilliant album. But I've got to go with Queensryche, Rage for Order. So we've got to ask everyone who's watching the show, then they're going to have to vote for the best album or their favourite album of 1980.
We've got 10 different ones there, didn't we? We get 10 different ones? I think we did.
I didn't go for the runners up. That's too complicated.
Yeah.
I've just gone for the just the winners. So yeah, there's no matches there on the winners. So
that illustrates your point. There's so many great albums. I mean, there wasn't any consensus. I mean, we all agreed on each other's, but
we did.
And there's a few that are left off that is just
man. I just want to say
we're not gonna go there. We're gonna keep this short, remember?
We are. We're gonna keep this short. Right, okay, that's 1986 done. We're up to 1987. Jam, what you got, mate?
Okay, I'm gonna start have an album that probably changed music, invented a new genre. Some would say. I think probably our most recognised as start of power metal, Halloween, Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 1. Their first album, Walls of Jericho, the first proper album, was more thrash than power metal. This is, I mean, I think that some people may say it was Blind Guardian, but these are what's recognised as a start of power metal. I mean, Michael Kiskay's voice is just amazing, very similar to Bruce Dickinson, if slightly different, but these German guys. But the second album, a lot of people say Keep the Seven Keys Part 2 is better. For me, Part 1 is infinitely better. The title track, Halloween, at the end, 13 minutes. It's one of them songs that's so long, but it doesn't seem like it. It just flies by. I mean, obviously, it's got Little Time, which is a brilliant song. Future World. It's all sing-along, catchy, but heavy and brilliantly played and fast and powerful. And I actually love this album. Absolutely love it. And then runner-up is probably, well, one of the top 2 Motley Crue albums. It's Girls, Girls, Girls. A lot of people, once again, don't rate this one so much, but I mean, the tracks on this are amazing. Wild Side, Girls, 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 Dancers on Glass, all brilliant. I don't like Elvis Presley, but even Jailhouse Rock at the end, I quite enjoy. So,
what do you mean?
And I love the video for Girls, Girls, Girls. It was amazing.
What do you mean you don't like Elvis Presley?
I don't.
All right, okay. All right.
Karaoke artist.
I always loved All in the Name of Rock. Isn't that on there?
Yeah, that's good as well. Yeah,
that's a rocker. That's a good one.
That is a great album. You said underrated completely for me.
Oh, You're All I Need as well. What a ballad that is. That's a brilliant ballad.
Very cool. Very cool album. Thanks for that, Jam. What you got then, Don?
Okay, it's probably my most obscure one I'm going with, but I just, talk about one that stood the test of time. It still comes on. It's one of those that you hear the opening and you just have to crank it up. There's a band called Ezio or Ezo. They were a Japanese band. They were on Geffen for 2 albums, produced by Gene Simmons, they were a Japanese band called Flatbacker before this. And they had 2 records in Japanese, and he kind of discovered them and brought them to the States. But the production on this is so weird. You know how Dehumanizer has that really precise kind of production? It's not synthesizer, but it's just that kind of gated drums, and that's what this is like. And it doesn't sound like a Gene Simmons production either. It's out of this world, and every song on this album is fantastic. I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, it's really one of those that has just stood the test of time. I'm sure it's probably on Spotify somewhere. But yeah, I really encourage anyone that hasn't heard this to check it out. Famously, they didn't really speak much English, so Gene brought in Jimmy St. James from Black and Blue to actually do the lyrics phonetically with them in the video. But it doesn't take anything away. Just songwriting is great. Production is out of this world. Love it. And then my honorable mention is going to be Manowar Fighting the World, which it's another production I absolutely love. When I first heard it, I was like, no one like this sounds like only this band, you know what I mean? Like how he has that really weird bass tone, but it's cool at the same time. And I don't know, I think it's probably their best album overall. So Manowar Fighting the World.
I love that album. My favorite Manowar album as well. It's
excellent. Mine too. Yeah.
Blow your speakers. We're rock and roll. Oh, it's fucking brilliant.
But you know what I mean about production, man. It's like they can't be mistaken for anybody else.
Yeah. No, fantastic, excellent album. Thanks, mate. Thanks very much for that, and the great choice of Ezio or Ezo, what you said. Okay, what we got in, Todd?
Well, I couldn't get any further away from Ezo. As far as how well known it is. Mine is. I can guess. Yeah, I mean it's cliche, and I almost didn't pick it, but I mean you got to. You take off the 3 big hits, it's still probably #1 album for me on this year. So I mean, how just one after the other. It's just relentless. So anyway, I can't, and I don't have to say any more about it. Everybody else knows that album too. But and then this one I actually gets a lot of slack as well, but I'm going to go with Permanent Vacation. I mean, again, you take off the big hits, it's still a great album. I mean, I even love the little slow ones, the St. John Hangman Jury ones. Those are great songs. I love them. Killer remake of I'm Down. Um, just great stuff. Heart's Done Time. Nobody ever plays and nobody ever talks about it. It's great album opener. It starts out with a bang. So, yeah, good stuff. Aerosmith, Permanent Vacation. I had several that I could have picked as well, but I'm going to go with that one.
Oh, thanks, mate. I thought you was going to go for Guns N' Roses, Dom. Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, thanks for that, though, Todd. Karen, what you got?
Oh, this is another year I found really difficult. I had quite a long list for this as well, but I was quite into kind of goth rock, I suppose, when I'm around the age of 14, 15. And one of my favourite albums that I actually still love listening to is Floodland by Sisters of Mercy. So I'm going to make that my top album of 87. I actually picked that as my featured classic album for my last radio show as well. We all take it in turns to pick a featured album every time to play tracks off. And I'd totally forgotten until the other day that actually Jim Steinman produced a number of tracks off that album. Not somebody whose music I'm a massive fan of, really, but yeah, I love that album. I think Andrew Eldritch even played all the music, all the instruments on the album himself, apart from the drum machine. It's a great album. And my honourable mention, again, just really wanted to mention this because I loved this album at the time, was a Death album, Scream Bloody Gore, which is probably arguably one of the first death metal albums. So a really, really important album musically that I still love some death metal now. And I listened to that and the production doesn't sound great now. I probably prefer the next album, Leprosy, but I'll pick that because I think it's musically a really, really important album.
Thanks, Karen. Much appreciated. Definitely a shift for me, 1987 was a definite. I could feel the shift in the difference in what was coming out. The heaviness was going, and it was coming a lot more. Well, not in some genres, obviously. We got death metal and stuff like that, but in the genres that I love, I could feel a shift in the quality, in my opinion. But
some more experimental stuff coming out, really, Dan, as
definitely,
well.
Yeah. But still a great year, though, by the way. And my top album is a little bit of an unusual one, I suppose. But love this album. It's Lizzie Borden and Visual Liars. Absolutely
excellent.
Love that album. So that was like head and shoulders for me, my best album that year. Anyone who hasn't heard that, it was very, compared to his earlier stuff, it was a bit more polished than it was. The production was great. He didn't have this tinny sound on his vocals. He sounded brilliant. It was all more the production making his voice sound tinny in the older albums, but production was spot on that. And my second one's a bit unusual, I suppose, as well. Pretty Maids and Future World, which is absolutely their best album for me. Their second album, love that. If anyone hasn't heard that, you've got to hear it. It's absolutely fantastic, full of massive choruses. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. That's it.
I love that cover
for 1987. Yeah, great cover. No winners there again on the first choices. So anyone want to let us know what your favourite album? Anyone watching the show, what your favourite album is of 1987? Okay, 88, the penultimate year. Right, you ready?
This was the hardest one for me because it's got my favourite albums by two bands, both out in the same year. So I had to pick one, obviously. So I decided to go for, no surprise, Metallica and Justice for All. I'm not going to talk about the bass issue. To me, I think the sound is absolutely brilliant. I love the sound of it. I wouldn't want it changed anything. I think it sounded so modern and heavy and just driving, and all the songs are epic. Every single song on here is brilliant. To Live As To Die is perhaps the only one I wouldn't listen to, just because I'm not a massive fan of instrumentals. But I mean, it's got my favourite Metallica song on it, Die As Eve, the last track. And it's just so heavy and so bang your head. And obviously One, when it came out, was amazing. I've heard it probably too much now, but the rest of it. Justice for All, obviously double album, or double vinyl anyway. Love that. And then my favourite Iron Maiden album is a runner-up, Seventh Son of Seventh Son. Not everyone's favourite, but absolutely love this as well. Obviously Moonchild, my favourite opening track on any Maiden album. And the title track's fantastic. I even like Can I Play with Madness? I'm not even bored of hearing that. I still love it. Either Men Do, Clairvoyant. Every song on here is really good. It's perhaps not quite as consistent as Justice for All, but it's still my favourite Iron Maiden album. So there we go.
Thank you, mate. No surprises for you, Jam, or did expect those two. Very cool indeed. Don, what you got, mate?
Well, this was another one. I was just like, God. I mean, I get to do an honorable mention, so it's okay. Okay, so I'm going to go with the debut album from Masters of Reality. This was a band that was on Deaf American, produced by Rick Rubin. Chris Goss, who went on to produce Queens of the Stone Age and Caius, and a lot of kind of was a forerunner in kind of that desert stoner vibe, yeah. if you will. Yeah, he's kind of an inspiration, and this album is so good. I mean, talk about one that I would put on and not even think about it today. Like I would just go, yep, that's it. Every track is perfect. If you do go back and definitely check out the 1988 version, because it was re-released a few years later by a different label, and they screwed around with the track listing, and it just didn't work. This one, 1998, with the spooky castle and the blue sky with the gate, that's the one to look for. I can't recommend it enough. It's just it's phenomenal. It rocks. And then there's some slower ones that are great. Just great. One of my favorite records of all time. But my runner-up is my favorite Cinderella album, which is Long Cold Winter. Now, we've had this discussion before. Night songs, come on. It's got Shake Me and Somebody Save Me and Nobody's Fool. Great. But I do think there's a bit of filler on there. Whereas Long Cold Winter, as an album, I think is really cohesive. Really a statement of intent for this band that was probably getting a lot of, sales, but also a lot of grief for being ultra glam. And they came back with just a barnstormer of an album. Just fantastic. So Long Cold Winter is my runner-up.
Thanks,
Great
mate.
album, guys.
Yep, very cool. Todd, what you got, mate?
Well, I've got two that I was debating, and they're quite a bit different in style. But as you know, you guys know by now, I'm a pretty big AC/DC fan, and AC/DC at this point wasn't really putting out great albums. They were okay. They had a few good songs here and there, but they're in the late '80s. They weren't really doing as much as I liked in the past. Before that, so my next best thing was to go a band that sounds like them. So I went with Dirty Looks.
Cool from the Wire. Yeah.
And I remember the song "Oh Ruby" was on the radio, and I'm like, "Hey, that's a new. Where did they find this Bon Scott AC/DC song and released?" And
Ruby, Red, Ruby, Blue.
It's Henrik Ostergaard singing. So it's but so I played the daylights out of this. I played it all the time, and when I was looking at my list, I'd still rose to the top. So I'm like, well, let's go with it. So I assumed that somebody else was going to have this, and it may still. So this is my honorable mention, Operation Mindcrime. So I didn't go with this one. I could have easily picked this one as well, but I thought somebody else would have it. So I'm going to leave that.
Okay. Thanks, mate. Much appreciated. Brilliant. Karen, what you got?
So predictably, you know what it's going to be. There can only be one winner from this year for me, and it's Operation Mindcrime. We've discussed this album to death. I think it's such an important album for me. It was the beginnings of my love of progressive music, I think, was this album. And I still think it's one of the cornerstones of progressive metal, one of the sort of blueprints, along with probably Dream Theater and Fate's Warning at the time. I just love it. I just still remember the first time I heard it, listening to Tommy Vance on the Friday Rock Show. He's played tracks from this album, just thinking, what is that? Loved it, absolutely loved it, and I still love it to this day. So that's my winner from 88, runaway winner. And my follow-up, I'm going to say, in the same vein, No Exit by Fate's Warning. They're another band that I absolutely love, that I think are, part of the blueprint for progressive metal, which is a genre of music that I absolutely love. So those are my choices from 88.
Thank you very much, Karen. Thank you. So the winner of 1988 is, well, I mean, I really was sort of like torn to. I've got two brilliant albums that you could say were very similar. The band sounds very similar.
Yeah.
So I mean, even listening to you guys, I was thinking, what, as it was going around the houses, I was thinking, which one do I choose? But I think as a perfect album, and as much as I still love Rage for All the More, I think Mindcrime is just a statement of intent as well, isn't it? I mean, it's just perfection, isn't it? So I've got to go with Mindcrime. And my runner-up is, Don?
Crimson Glory.
Crimson Glory, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Transcendence. Just one of the best vocalists that's ever been out there as well. I mean, we talk about Jeff Tate, and he was compared to Jeff Tate at the time, but I don't know, the power that Midnight had in his voice was amazing. But the songs, man, just amazing. I think the only reason they got a little bit of stick because they sound like Queensryche, like I said, but I think I love Queensryche so much. That's probably what I loved about them. But that is one amazing album. Transcendence is a perfect album. So Operation Mindcrime is the winner of 1988. Brilliant.
No surprise there.
Nope.
Well, yeah, there was only two of us. But yeah. Right, the last year, 1989.
Okay.
Yeah, here we go, Jam. What you got, mate?
Right, I'm going for. I bet I'm the only person who picks this one. Wolfsbane debut album. Blaze Bayley looks a little bit different there than he does now, but yeah, these were on Deaf American as well, which is strange for a small British band from Tamworth to get signed to. But I mean, production isn't great on here. But I've got this. I think it was album of the week in Kerrang when they used to do music, proper music, and I bought it on a whim, and I had it on tape, and I just listened to it non-stop. And I actually wore the tape out. There's nothing left on the tape. All the writing all worn off. Just played it over and over again. It's one of them albums where I could sing every lyric to every single song. Brilliant. It's got Manhunt on here, of course, and I Like It Hot and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, brilliant stuff. Don't probably listen to it that much anymore, but at the time it was fantastic, and obviously saw them live, and they're still going now if anybody's interested. Of course, Blaze went on to be an Iron Maiden, of course, but Wolfsbane's still going. Released an album in 2022, I believe, called Genius, so worth checking out if you want to check out some modern Wolfsbane. And honourable mention, this might be mentioned, Skid Row debut album, fantastic. Still, I think we've all debated whether this is better than Slave to the Grind or Slave to the Grind is better. I think they're just both brilliant in their own way. Slave to the Grind is probably heavier, but this is probably more catchy. And every song on here is brilliant. Even Midnight Tornado, the last song, is fantastic. 18 Alive. I mean, I still like I Remember You. I can hear that. Even You've Got Wild, I can hear all the time. It's just fantastic. Skid Row debut album.
Very cool. Thanks, mate, and thank you for all the choices through the 80s. Then, Don.
Okay, well, this was the easiest one for me, even though I have so many honorable mentions for 1989. It's ridiculous. But number one for me was just, it's my favorite hard rock record of all time. Talk about, Jam was just saying how he knows every lyric. I know every lick, every guitar, I could hum the whole thing without even hearing it. It's Sonic Temple by The Cult. My favorite hard rock album of all time. I was a fan before it came out. I've been buying their records already, but when that came out, everything meshed together for me. I'm sure many, many people have heard that album, but just the riffs and again, it's another record that really, I think, by side 2, that's when it really kicks into gear. Soul Asylum, New York City. I mean, it's fantastic stuff. And for my honorable mention, it's got to be the first Enough's Enough album. That album blew my mind when it came out. When I saw the video for New Thing, I thought, who the fuck is this? They're like a glam version of Cheap Trick. It's incredible. Just the best choruses, and they looked amazing. And I ran out and bought it the next morning, hungover as hell, but I couldn't. I had to go get it. and I just played it to death. So that first Enough's Enough album, just fantastic stuff. So that's me wrapped up.
Brilliant, mate. And thank you very much for all your choices, mate. Absolutely fantastic. Todd, what you got, mate? It's getting late, mate. It's 20 past 7.
Yeah. So are you telling me to get going here? So this is a band that I don't know if a lot of people know, Giant, their debut. I just love Dan Huff's vocals, his guitar as well. He's an amazing guitarist. I always kind of likened him a little bit to Y&T. They have a similar kind of structure in the band anyway. Y&T's a little heavier maybe, but catchy songs, just unforgettable songs on this album. I just love it. And I struggled with what I'm going to play or what the honorable mention, but let's just do something a little different. I'm not a big rap rock fan, but Epic or The Real Thing by Faith No More adds some great songs on it. In 1990, I started working at a music land, and this was still fairly popular in 1990, and I would play this every time I come in and just love it. So great stuff. So there's mine.
That nearly made my list. I was torn between that because it's a fantastic album.
Yeah.
What an amazing sounding album as well that is. It sounds massive, like it, it's better than a lot of albums that you hear now. So
and Mike Patton can get a little nasally, but he has an amazing voice though when he really tries. So yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, very cool. Thanks, mate. Cheers for all your choices, Todd. Okay, Karen, what's your
This album was easy for me. Absolute no-brainer. They had to be in here somewhere. My favorite album of this year is Season's End by Marillion. Everyone in 88 officially leaves Marillion, the end of the world. How are they ever going to be able to carry on? And then they made this. The first track I ever heard from this album was the title track. It wasn't any of the big singles. The music, it's so unmistakably Marillion, that guitar intro, and then there's these beautiful vocals over the top of it. So yeah, happy. I knew it was going to be okay when I heard that, and so it has been ever since for me. So my honourable mention, again, something a bit different. An album that I absolutely love is Disintegration by The Cure. For me, it's their best ever album. For me personally, subjective, I know. It's beautifully miserable album. It's really melancholic. There's no happy clappy Friday I'm in love on this album. It's what The Cure do best. Amazing album, Disintegration. Those are my choices.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Karen. Before we get on to my choice, I love the fact that when you guys talk about music, you sort of like, when you talk about an album you love, you're just like me, it's like, isn't it? It's brilliant. I just love your faces. I love looking at all your faces when you're talking about the best music that's around. Obviously, it's cool. It is very cool. So, right. Okay. My favorite album, 1989. I've already spoken about this band on an honourable mention, but it's got to be Tesla and the Great Radio Controls. Man, I mean, I did. They're both the first 3 Tesla albums. You could even stretch it to the first 4. They're pretty amazing. But this was just a mental album, and I just love everything about it. Not quite on the same, for me as the debut, but very close. So that's it. Tesla wins for me. The second one was actually, this is a bit not controversial, but what it is at the moment, it's Shout and In Your Face. So it's the Christian heavy rock band Shout. Controversial because my mate Ken Tamplin, the happiest rock singer in the world, they've caught him out miming a festival. Yeah, and it's all like it's you can look it up anywhere. They're breaking it down and all that, and really giving him some grief at the moment. So
boy,
he's probably not as happy as he usually is at the moment.
I was going to say he's the happy chappy, right? Yeah, he's the.
Well, listen, backing tracks. You could have an argument for I mean, if you actually listen to the Shout albums at that time in the late 80s, full of like massive lush backing vocals, harmonizing vocals, could never pull that off even then, probably. You know, I mean, you'd need some sort of backing tracks then. So he's definitely going to need it now. Now he's like 50 odd years old, maybe 60 odd years old. But I did, when I heard the videos of the show at Mortal Fest, it's called, it sounded perfect, like it was 1980, 1988, 89. And I was thinking, I know he's a pretty good singer, but it sounds just like the record, you know?
Right.
And yeah, and I think, and apparently people have been like judging this performance, and then he's been like, basically his lawyers have been contacting everyone and taking the videos down to whoever talks about it. So I'm probably not going to be able to upload this if he sees it.
This is all very, very Christian, I have to say.
I mean,
the judging part, the lying part, all of it is just very.
And the worst thing about it, in his vocal academy that he's got, he has a go about backing tracks and people miming. You know, and you know, that's not a good look, is it?
No.
You know, I mean, so it was the best sounding performance.
I didn't realize that there was a second In Your Face released in 1989. Because in my honorable mentions, I had Kingdom Come in Your Face.
Yeah, I know. That's not very Christian either, I must say.
Well, no, but they never said they were.
Shout in your face and come in your face. Yeah, I know. All right, okay, so that's it. Shout it's a great album. Take away the controversy. Although I was listening to this video today talking about it, I was like, oh man, no, Ken, not Ken. Like, he's the happiest, most annoying person ever. But you know, there you go. Shout in your face is my honourable mention. So, guys, it was a brilliant show talking about the 80s. I can't stop talking about the 80s. No matter how good music is now, the 80s was the best for me, and it always will be. But there you go. It's been a brilliant show. Everyone who watches this video, I'm sure there'll be a few because we love the 80s. Put your choices below the video.
Oh yeah, I'd love to read everybody's choices.
Yeah, your favourite from every year. It ain't easy when you start breaking down, actually looking at it, but your favourites. All right, guys, it's been a pleasure as usual.
Great seeing you all.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah. Are you all right for a 90s show? It might be a bit difficult, but you're all right for a 90s
I'm ready.
Sure.
Yeah, I could do 90s, no problem.
I have a feeling that our choices are going to diverge quite a bit.
This is when they start to separate. Around 92, I think it's when it goes.
Yeah, there may be some maybe some Seattle-based songs on there. Maybe we'll have to see.
maybe, yes. But no, that was brilliant, guys. Thank you very much for joining me in this talk about this excellent decade of music. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.